I think that in our own way, demonstrations have helped. Demonstrations have caught government's attention. It's just that it is government stubbornness and a deliberate way or deliberate stance of not wanting to do anything. Now, last year in September, there was the Occupy Jilobi House demonstration. If you ask me, that was huge because you had international press covering it. Now, the other reason why, or some people will say, oh, yeah. But the other reason why sometimes the demonstrations may not, to some people, they may not strike a chord is for a number of reasons. One, sometimes demonstrations don't even get the needed support they need to get. And that support must come from people who have a stake in running this country. If you take government out, because usually people demonstrate against government policy. And sometimes you don't have a lot of buy-in from certain elements. Sometimes the media doesn't even care. There could be days when things are happening and the media is talking about some other very different thing. Then you could have elements such as, or important people such as the Ghana Bar Association, for example. Now, let me read this statement that the Law Society of Kenya put out in relation to what is happening in Kenya. I'll read portions to you. So this is the Law Society statement on killing of protester during the finance bill demonstration. Effectively, the statement says, just a few paragraphs, it says, I speak to you on this Black Tuesday, not just as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, but equally as a peace-loving patriot. Apart from being the LSK president, I am a mother, an aunt, a sister, a daughter, and a wife. Like all mothers whose children have been killed, injured, tortured, or abducted in the hands of cops, I feel the pain of my countrymen. That's just the opening paragraph.
This is who?
This is the Law Society of Kenya. This statement was
a particular matter.
Yes, okay. A protester that was killed during what's happening in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is coming from the Law Society president and by extension the Law Society.
Mm-hmm.
When have we ever, in the last few years, had a protest or a demonstration and the Ghana Bar Association has said something? So I'm just making this point to say that sometimes a lot of these protests in other countries work because they are done on the back or other people give them support. So you have the Law Society here. We saw images of the clergy going to give protesters water. Have we not been in this country where we've heard the clergy scream everywhere, but when times change, they are quiet? Think about how vibrant the clergy was between let's say in John Mahama's last few years. And we all saw it. The prayer sessions, the prayer meetings, the sermons, the press conferences. In the last few years, things have happened in this country. We've wasted funds on the National Cathedral. E-levies here. People can't buy food to eat. People are struggling to live from hand to mouth. I'll tell you a story. Last week, I went to pick my wife from work, and I was at the gate when a certain gentleman approached me. He was selling trainers or jeans. I can't seem to remember. He was practically on his knees begging me to buy a pair because he hadn't eaten the whole day. His child was in the hospital. Meanwhile, in these last few years, things have deteriorated. Our parents, our grandparents, our older uncles and aunties have gone to picket at the finance ministry. Why? Because they've worked so hard, 20, 30 years of active service, and then their pensions have been touched. Haircuts, investments, gone. The same clergy that was screaming from the rooftops, the same clergy is quiet.